Today, our researchers, they have found a body, a decaying corpse to be exact, of a teenage boy who lived exactly 2 centuries prior to yourselves. And this boy, we are going to give a full body analysis, a forensic, physical, and cultural in-depth study of what was going on at the time before and after his death. Reason to believe that the subject has a severe case of asthma, or in other words, bronchitis. Proof of a foreign substance has been found in the subject's body and is most likely the cause of the diseases. The substance has been discovered as being none other than marijuana, a common drug utilized by teens in the early 21st century. The substance was most likely ingested as a result of stress from teens' social lives or school lives that put an output on their stress factor and what occurred around them. Marijuana was a depressant that slowed down all of the messages between the body and the brain. The drug contains a substance known as tetrahydrocannabinol, formerly known as THC. Seems to have been taking the drug for an extended period of time, which gives a very valid reason for the blackened lungs and respiratory type diseases. Diseases were very common for members of society who frequently ingested the depressant. Another common reason for having taken and ingested the drug had to do with peer pressure or friends having pushed our subject into a place they might have never gone to. The male has a 3-inch scar above their right knee with what appears to be stitch markings. It is most likely to assume that this was a sports-related injury, as they were very common at the time. Common sports-related injuries could have included anything involving running, hiking, biking, or any physical activity that utilized those key components. After cutting open our subject, we found a dough-like substance known as pizza, which was a very common fast food, also known as junk in the 21st century. Food that utilized dough as its base with tomato sauce and cheese, while also having a meat substance that came from the now extinct animal, the pig. The food has been somewhat digested in the subject's intestines, while some of it has still remained in his stomach. This also relates to what our subject enjoyed eating and the foods that teenagers generally enjoyed to eat during the 21st century. Pizza was one of many foods that people considered to be unhealthy for the body, but yet it was very common for teenagers to enjoy eating this kind of food, as it was formerly known as being junk. Our subject is a fairly slim and small teenager that weighs 123 pounds and has a height of 163 centimeters. The subject has abnormally large calves compared to the rest of his body. The subject was most likely a very athletic person that played a sport that obviously strengthened his calves. This goes back to the time frame of the 21st century and how, although teens did eat lots of junk food, most of them were involved in some sort of physical activity or sport that made them have stronger muscle development in certain areas of their body. The subject's glasses were also discovered and his vision was examined. The subject had a prescription of 20/70, which was a moderate visual impairment. Wearing glasses were very common for teenagers ages 14 to 17. An estimated 31% of teenagers in the 21st century wore glasses, and this had to do with the advancement of technology and being in the technological era, which made teenagers much more vulnerable to electronics that they hadn't been in previous generations. The subject has no markings or piercings on the body whatsoever. The formation of the subject's mouth gives us the impression that the subject was able to speak, and no signs of stroke are visible. When our researchers were examining our subject's home and the surroundings he lived in, we found a very interesting sketchbook. The sketchbook contains many images of what seems to be television and film characters from the 20th and 21st century that have a lot to do with pop culture and media that has influenced the subject and many other teens at the time. This puts a further insight on the fact that pop culture and media had a big impact on teens in the 21st century. Another artifact our researchers found was a classic 1080p recording camera that was utilized at the time to document real-life events and possibly short films. It's quite a shocker to believe that people recorded footage on such a low picture frame rate and sound quality. I mean, look at us today with the ability to shoot on the quality of 26,000p. Who thought that they shot on 1080p at that time and thought it was true HD? The third artifact our researchers found was a copy of a very popular superhero film known as Spider-Man 2. The subject has the film on the DVD platform, which was utilized to watch films and television series. In the 21st century, the superhero genre was one of the most popular genres of film for teenagers at the time, as they were able to bring very extraordinary people to have such down-to-earth and relatable characteristics that made them very relatable and interesting for teens to watch.
I'm Spider-Man. No more. No more. No more.
Fourth artifact our researchers found was the iPhone 6. The following cellular device was very popular among teens at the time, and it promised to bring a new wave of technology from the brand known as Apple into the market, and honestly, it had a huge impact on the entire cellular community. The founder of the Apple company, known as Steve Jobs, passed away at the age of 56 in the year 2011 after having battled pancreas cancer for a very long time. The iPhone 6 records video and takes pictures while also having a large assortment of applications that accomplish different tasks. The fifth and final artifact our researchers found was a novel printed in Russian text. Most teens in the 21st century, like our subject being a prime example of this, enjoyed reading, as it was an escape from reality while also being something interesting to delve into. Reading also had many positive benefits for people, including mental stimulation, stress reduction, a vocabulary expansion, and memory improvement. It's interesting going back in time and seeing where humanity once was, and now looking at ourselves and seeing how low we have gone.